So who are the people who seem now to be running our lives and our world and planning our future? I've made a list of some of the people who would go onto my personal list as the most dangerous people on the planet. Well, first on my list is, of course, our self-appointed medical expert, Mr. Gates.
In fact, the testing could have been ramped up very quickly in a few countries that have almost avoided the epidemic entirely, like Taiwan, New Zealand, Australia. They took their experience and actually prepared, and so they moved a lot faster. So we, we'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is will get attention this time.
Who has more fingers in more pies than anyone would have thought possible for someone with the normal number of fingers?
She insists I should give her this needle, but darling, one thing I want you know, don't blame me for where the needle go. I push it in.
The other day we asked our television set if Bill Gates is a psychopath. The answer from the voice inside the television was, on Wikipedia he is referred to as a pure psychopath.
Light up the darkness.
That was our TV set's opinion, not mine. But what can you say? It seems that even television sets have a view on Mr. Gates these days.
Could your TV be spying on you? Secret documents show how the CIA have turned TVs into bugging devices, giving the capability a code name, Weeping Angel, named it seems after characters in the Doctor Who TV series.
If there's something nasty and threatening going on
I push it in.
anywhere in the world, the chances are high that Gates has invested in it.
She pull it out, I push it back. She start to shout, Dr. Gates is terrible. I can't stand the size of your needle.
Gates has been funding scientists at Harvard who are trying to block out the sun's rays in an attempt to stop global warming.
Modelling studies have found that it could reduce the intensity of heat waves, for instance. Apparently it could reduce the rate of sea level rise. It could reduce the intensity of tropical storms.
But it also comes with significant risks and uncertainties.
Things like mass famine, mass flooding, drought, of kinds that will affect very large populations.
If you haven't heard of this before, just stop and think for a moment. The scientists want to spray millions of tons of dust into the stratosphere to stop the sun's rays reaching the Earth.
Bill Gates is backing the first high-altitude experiment of one radical climate change solution, creating a massive chemical cloud that could cool the Earth. It's called solar geoengineering, and it's highly controversial.
One plan is that every day more than 800 large aircraft would lift millions of tons of chalk dust to a height of 12 miles above the Earth and then sprinkle the dust to stop the sun's rays getting through.
I push it in.
How long will it be that countries keep experiencing these climate impacts before someone gets desperate and says, hey, we need to cool the planet with solar geoengineering?
Another plan is to send up hot air balloons to release powder into the atmosphere.
I push it in.
There are, you won't be surprised to hear, a couple of problems with this.
You can also compare it to direct air carbon capturing, another climate change solution backed by Bill Gates and by big oil. It involves sucking billions of tons of carbon out of the air. And at $100 to $200 a ton, it could be big business. Solar geoengineering, on the other hand, is so cheap that nobody currently stands to make money from the process.
Obviously, the first is that no one's yet proved that global warming is taking place
Light up
and is anything more than a natural phenomenon, even if it is.
the darkness.
Moreover, there are a lot of scientists who believe that we're heading into a phase where the planet is actually cooling.
It would look something like this. Thousands of planes would fly very high and use nozzles to inject millions of tons of light-reflecting particles into the stratosphere. It would create a thin chemical cloud of those particles around the whole planet, blocking some sunlight from reaching the surface. It would mimic a giant volcanic eruption, which we know cools the Earth.
And there are those who think that the Gates money and the scientists throwing powder into the sky could help to create droughts, hurricanes and mass deaths.
It could weaken monsoons in India, China and Africa enough to affect crops.
It seems fairly well agreed that altering the atmosphere to cool the planet could have unpredictable effects.
Light up
In 1815, a volcanic eruption created crop shortages and disease outbreaks.
The darkness.
Some might say, of course, that all this could be considered a bonus by a man who wants to reduce the world population.
I am not a qualified physician, and I don't want to give this injection. I am not a qualified physician, and I don't want to give this injection.
No one seems to have told him, by the way, that 800 large aircraft taking off every day and flying to 12 miles up would require a good deal of aviation fuel. And what sort of dust are they planning to have sprayed? Well, some say calcium, but I've also heard talk that barium, alumina and strontium might be used.
I push it in.
Whatever it is won't improve the quality of the air we breathe.
It could eradicate blue sky.
Bottom line is that this seems to me
It's cheap and dangerous.
to be a way to reduce the world's population rather than to protect it,
Just because a solution is cheap doesn't make it a good one.
all in the guise of dealing with the climate change hoax.